All right. Hello, welcome back. Thanks for the presentation there by PlanOn. Hopefully everyone enjoyed it. For those who haven't figured out yet, for each session that's going on, go back to the main page and to the agenda and go to the next session. And that's how you'll find the next sessions that are coming up. I think we didn't quite mention that on how to navigate through all this. So after each one of these, you can go back to the agenda and get into the next one. So on our next presentation, we have Andrew Neal, GIS analyst, and Aaron Kidwell, senior GIS analyst, both from The Ohio State University. They're going to be talking about getting a drone program off the ground. So I appreciate it. I'll pass it to Aaron and Andrew.
So good afternoon, everyone. So my name is Andrew Neal. I'm a GIS analyst at Ohio State University. And I'm going to talk to you today about our drone program that we started a couple years ago. And I'm joined with Aaron Kidwell. Aaron, if you want to just introduce yourself real quick.
Yes, Aaron Kidwell. I've been working for Ohio State for 8+ years, GIS services. And yeah, let's get going.
Cool. So today, we're just going to talk to you about how we started our drone program at Ohio State, why we started it, where we are today, what kind of work we're doing with our drones, and where we see ourselves going in the future. So we're going to kind of tag team this together. So you'll hear both of us talking. If you have questions during this, just throw them in the chat and we'll try our best to get to them either right after the presentation or later on the other platform. So let's get going, Aaron.
All right, man. So first of all, I'm Maverick and he's Iceman. We've had the drone program going for 3 years now, and immediately those were our tags. So nobody calls me by my name anymore. So, okay, so who we are part of planning, architecture, and real estate here at Ohio State, and in particular, the facilities information and technology services teams. We do architectural services. We create 2D and 3D floor plan models for university buildings. We implement our building information modeling for existing buildings for design and construction. Data services provide space data and reporting use of the space information and management system. Provide access to as-built documentation and other facilities information through a web-based interface. And our GIS services, we develop and maintain a leading-edge enterprise GIS system and provide GIS-related services. And from that, we were looking to build onto it. And so we started looking into the drone.
And just as a reference, we have about 4 people in our GIS team and about 10 overall in our whole FITS group. So the drone program was really started for a few reasons. The biggest reasons were to obtain higher resolution imagery and to get that imagery a lot faster and at a more rapid interval than we were before. Typically, we were paying a consultant to go out and fly a plane for our campus, and that happened usually every 2 years. So I'm sure all of you know, within 2 years or even a year on a campus like Ohio State or even your own, things change quick, right? We have a number of building projects that happen. We have a number of landscape changes. We have road changes. So updating our imagery was really crucial for us to not only see what's happening on the ground at a faster pace, but also update our GIS. And we also had some ideas to try to assess our buildings with thermal cameras, investigate our assets a little bit better with drones, and then also to see what else came up. So those are the reasons that we wanted to start the program.
So I was approached in the middle of 2018 by a colleague who said that our VP of operations here in our department wanted to get a drone for the office, and I was going to fly it. So I'm like, okay, the only experience I'd had previous to that was like a little 4-inch drone from Walmart. I flew it into my 2-year-old daughter's face. So I wasn't thinking this might not be the right thing for me, but if the boss wants it, then that's what we needed. We needed to get going. So we looked into some drones. We ended up buying a DJI Matrice 210. It's a heavy duty drone that is all about commercial use. It's not a drone we would recommend, obviously, for flying around your neighborhood and things like that, although I do that. So the equipment, we got a camera, and then the software package that we got, it was $15,000+ right off the ground to get going. But we dove right in and did it.
So there's really 3 things that we needed, right? There was the equipment, the software, and then there was the pilots.
And here we go. I don't know if there's any volume on this, but our colleagues made this for us. It's got the Top Gun theme playing in the background. So,
and so as Aaron mentioned, right, neither of us had actually flown drones before besides little recreational things. So this was a new experience for us, but we both had GIS experience. We both had a little bit of surveying experience, and we honestly felt that fitting the drone into our GIS team made the most sense. And then, of course, we get the monikers from Top Gun. Top Gun references will never go away.
Right.
And, of course, you get a fantastic group of groupies once you become a pilot.
That's right. And you get to wear cool aviator glasses.
So this was our first flight, actually just testing it out. It was a cold winter day, and everyone flocked to us like rock stars.
So that's, yes. Okay. So to become a pilot, what do you need to do? Obviously, you have to get your pilot license. If it's less than 55 pounds, which most drones are, you can fly for work or business, but you have to follow the 107 guidelines. I think when we took our test in late 2018, the test was $150. I believe it's $175 now. The step one, you have to learn all the rules, the operation limitations, different aircraft requirements. You have to become an FAA certified drone pilot by passing the knowledge test. You have to register your drone with the FAA, and you have to renew your certification after 2 years. So we got what we did to specifically make sure we didn't fail this thing, because we had heard it was pretty difficult, was we purchased like an online training course, and we both spent about a week solid just studying it. And it definitely was useful, and it definitely helped, because we both aced the test. Thank goodness. We'd heard so many horror stories about people failing it that we wanted to make sure we weren't like them. So, but it's a pretty difficult test. It's a test that the pilot would have to take too, like a normal pilot. So we had a lot of, airspace questions and weather questions and all kinds of stuff on it. So I would definitely recommend getting like a week training session or something, and do it. And then we used to have to take a certification test, but now they've updated that. So we just had to renew our certification by doing an online training session. So it was much easier. We didn't have to pay anything for that. So I was dreading another test, so we didn't have to end up worrying about that.
Yeah, I'd say if people are interested in becoming pilots, don't be scared. But like Aaron said, you do have to study, and you do have to memorize specific information that pertains to flying drones and flying in general. So don't be scared off, but put in the time and effort to do it right. Yeah.
Okay.
And then, this is the Matrice 210 that we ended up buying. And there's a few critical pieces of hardware here. You got the drone itself, which is, rotors and mechanics and radar systems and all that kind of stuff on there. And then we have the controller piece, the remote controller, and the screen, the crystal screen that we bought that drives the software part of it. So that's what we take out into the field. We also take a few other, data cables and things like that. That was a big learning curve for us, I think, was just figuring out how everything fit together and how everything worked in the process of getting a flight going. But after a few times, we really started to master that pretty easily.
Yeah, the first 5 or 6 different flights we did, we forgot something in the office every time, and would have to drive back or take a scooter back or something. So.
And I'll say that after, we'll talk about this in a little bit, the software that we use, but we actually use an iPad that we hook up to that remote controller, whereas this one, the crystal screen, used a different software. And Aaron might talk about that in the next slide.
So we went with a company called SiteScan to produce the imagery and things that we needed. And we went that route because it was seamless with the DJI Go app, but it wasn't seamless with trying to get our stuff into our GIS platform. Thankfully, Esri bought out SiteScan within the last year or so, and all of that now it's even more seamless than it was, because we can upload our stuff to the Esri SiteScan website, and everything is taken care of for us. And our biggest issue too was trying to figure out how we were going to display all these orthos, and so now we're able to do that.
So, right, we had a training program that we were able to use for the test. There was no training for actual flying. So what do? You go to a baseball field and you try to fly the bases. This was a lot of fun, but it was also, I will say first off the bat, the drone is extremely easy to fly. But it did take some getting used to about the mechanics, which way it turns and tilts and rotates. As Aaron mentioned, this is a commercial drone, so it's pretty big. It flies pretty fast. So it took a little bit of time for us to get out there and get some practice in. But over time now, I feel like Aaron and I, we've been flying it for 2 years. I feel like we were both really confident in taking it up and doing all sorts of loop-de-loops and stuff. So
yeah, definitely. Okay, so we had to come up with a process for all of our flights. So what we did, we have a smart sheet that has a drone flight request form. So if people want to request a flight, they just go into SiteScan, and it's an automated system that put everything in there where they want, that kind of thing, and it pops over. And then we have to get through the Office of Academic Affairs, the risk management system. So we have to get all of our flights approved, so we're not just like flying over Ohio Stadium on football Saturdays and things like that. So,
and then for each flight, we're still using that smart sheet system for this, but for each flight, we log all of our information. This is actually part of your training in the FAA certification, is that you have to have a flight log. So we keep track of a number of things: the weather, what batteries we used, where we flew, who piloted it. And this is a good way for us to not only just make sure we're following protocols and safety procedures, but also, it gives us a chance to tally up how many flights we did, how many flight hours, and create some really great reports that we can share with leadership about our progress.
This is what I mentioned before about the how Esri absorbed SiteScan. So now we're able to just put them into an AGOL and show all of our images and things that we've done. So it's made it so much more seamless.
And as Aaron was talking about, at first we struggled a little bit to share some of the products from our drone flights with people across campus. So this integration has been huge, that we can now share just a web map and let anyone on campus with access to that see the flights and cruise around wherever we fly. So this is a big win for us.
So some of our use cases we've had, we've done a lot of construction flights, monitoring on a monthly or bi-monthly basis to try for project managers and project management, so they can see how the projects have evolved over the separate months and sometimes years of the project.
So now we'll just show some of our projects that we're working on. So this was a project on an area called Cannon Drive, where the university actually built up a floodplain to protect some of the assets away from the river. And we flew this. This is what the flight looks like in SiteScan. You can see all of those little white dots are pictures that were taken from the drone. And this is what the imagery looked like afterwards. We see a big road cutting down the middle. We see that is actually going to be green space to the left side near the river. And we've actually opened up some room for development where a new hospital tower is going to go. So we were able to fly that with the drone and get quick updated imagery. Whereas, if we had to wait for an aerial survey, we'd be waiting for a whole nother year. So really helpful to be able to go out there and fly that. And then I just want to show some of the detail that we can get from these pictures. This is, we can fly up to 400 feet with our drone. Sometimes we fly lower, sometimes we fly at 400 to get areas quicker. But the imagery that comes back is just fantastic. So, you can clearly see light poles and crosswalk markings and cars and sidewalk edges. So this type of information can then be brought right into our GIS. We can digitize off it. In SiteScan, we can actually get some types of contours from this that can be shared with people. So you can do cut fill models, You can see DEMs that can be generated, so we can see where the low spots are, where the high spots are. A lot of different products can be developed from this. So there's all sorts of possibilities with this that we can share with people across campus. We can do hillshades. And then we can also do 3D models, right? This is actually, it's not LiDAR, it's using the photos. So it's using photogrammetry to create a 3D model from those pictures, overlapping pictures. And then they're called point clouds, right? So this is really neat stuff that we can share with people and have great little images of new projects going on. And then one of the biggest things that we do is project management for people when they're doing new buildings. So we'll click through this slide and kind of show the development of this site. In August, we go to September, starts to build up. November, we've got a building showing up. January, we've got a full roof. And then in May, we can see that the building is pretty much complete. They're working on parking lots and putting in landscaping and things like that. So this is, huge for project management. That department is called Facilities Design and Construction on campus, and they're always interested in this kind of information.
So some of the other things that we do, we've done some parking studies on campus, supply and demand. We've gone out and flown all the major parking lots on like our West Campus area, like 3 different times during one day, the peak times. I apologize if I have an echo here. I'm doing my best. So as you can see, these are all from pretty much the same half-hour window. This lot up here, there's nobody using it. Everybody's crammed into these other lots. So it's just kind of interesting. We wanted to see what kind of things we could see with that. So we did a whole bunch of different areas.
This was an interesting project that we just never would have thought would have happened, but they were putting a new building. There's a big tree on the site, and there was some baby hawk's nest on the left there that you can see. And, according to Ohio environmental laws, that they couldn't tear down the tree or build on the site until those hawks were gone. So we went out there, we got some pictures. The next picture in the middle, we could see that the hawks were still in the nest. They were fledglings at that point. And then, I think maybe a month later, Aaron, I forget the timeline, but we went back and the hawks were gone. They were not living in that nest anymore. Unfortunately, the tree came down, but that was for an important building on campus. So, we were able to help out the facilities teams with this request. That it was something that we never saw coming, but it was a cool little project.
Yeah, like Andrew said, we did this. We went out 3 different times. So we were kind of rooting for the birds. Like, let's go birds, like, you can do it. You can fly. So a couple other things that come up too that you just wouldn't think anybody would be asking about. But like, for instance, we had at one of our facilities, there was somebody up on the roof tagging it with graffiti. They saw some on the side somewhere, and they wanted somebody to go up and look around. So we volunteered to fly it. So we flew up and took pictures of all the graffiti everywhere. There was quite a bit of it up there, so they probably were able to take care of it. But then there's probably more up there again now, so who knows? And then there was a large tree that was being removed, and they wanted us to document that. So we went out, videoed it, took a bunch of pictures for them so they could use it in their marketing materials, I guess, for their department.
A couple other projects. There was every year there's large donor events around graduation time, and on the left there, if you can see on the oval of the Ohio State, there's some very yellow grass panels. Those are where some really large tents were put up, and they stayed there for a few weeks, and they really kind of destroyed the grass. And the landscape services team here was really interested to document that damage so that they could say, hey, next year when you guys put your tents down, we need X amount of money in return because it's going to take a long time to repair that grass. So just having that bird's eye view is huge across campus to document things. And on the right there, this was a new project where they we call it restoring the Mirror Lake area on campus. So it was a redesign of the lake to make it more sustainable and safer. And this was to document all of the plantings that happened around the edge of the lake to make sure it matched the landscape plan. And both of these projects were really successful and a great use of the drone.
So what are the next steps? Our next steps, we actually went really big. We partnered with College of Engineering and we purchased a fixed wing drone. It's called the Wingtra One. It's made in Switzerland. It's an amazing machine. It's super light. It takes PPK. We set that up so we can get, sub centimeter or centimeter, 2 centimeter accuracy. So it's basically doing surveys from the air. Uses a 42 megapixel Sony camera that's amazing. We had to purchase the Spectra SP80 GNSS, and this thing can cover 400 plus acres on a single battery pair in about a 50-minute flight. It's amazing what we've been able to accomplish with this. So before, when we were talking about getting, updated imagery from construction sites and things around campus, now we're actually flying our entire campus. So about a month ago, we went out and we flew the entire campus, 1,600 acres. We did it all in 2 days. And we're now putting that imagery together so that we can share it and have it, and we're going to go fly it in the fall as well when the leaves are off. So it's been a fantastic partnership. It wasn't cheap, but we're going to be able to save plenty of money in the long run by doing our own aerial imagery. So yeah, it's been really fun.
Here's a couple pictures of that Wingtra. So that it's fixed wing, but this is actually a really cool one that does a vertical takeoff. So from that position right there, it takes off vertically, and then it flies out and does these big circles to get going, and then it flies on its fixed wing, and it lands like that as well. On the picture on the left too, you can see that there's a base station PPK GNSS receiver. So that's given us that centimeter accuracy stuff. And then they've been able to fly some really cool areas. So we've got a lot of agriculture lands across Ohio. We've got an airport. We've got golf courses. So there's a lot of stuff that we can fly with this that would be really hard with the other drone, and also not worth it to buy an aerial survey. So this is going to be a huge win for us to have this drone.
Yeah, and the OSU airport is actually the busiest airport in the state of Ohio. So it's just because there's students there that are just constantly taking off and landing small planes. So we were able to get in there early in the morning before any of the flights and get that imagery. So the distance we've traveled so far, we got this about March or April of 2020, right just as COVID was slamming into us. The guy in our partner in the College of Engineering, he's done the majority of the flying, which has been amazing. It's kind of like his thing. He's like, okay, if you guys help us with the price, that kind of thing, I'll do whatever you guys need. So it's been a really good partnership. We've flown it over 4,000 miles since we've had it. Total flight duration of 119 hours. So basically, we're on our way back from LAX. We're somewhere over northeastern Colorado right now. So.
And the ground covered, we did a little calculation. Some of this data was from a friend, and Aaron tweaked it. But we've flown 33,758 acres so far with that drone. And, we did some estimates on pricing, and, it's $100,000 plus if we were to outsource that to industry standards. So we've already saved that amount of money. Think about that yearly now that we can keep doing that. It's really amazing.
Right. And a note on the outsourcing, we came up with the numbers. We did a survey of multiple operators in various industries to try to determine pricing, equipment, and output, as well as bringing in information from industry white papers. And we decided to use the flight minute as the marker. So it covers both fixed wing and multi-rotor and accounts for different flight altitudes and payload weights, things like that. So that's how we came up with our $100,000 plus savings if it were to be outsourced at this point. So. And our geographic scope, this is obviously the state of Ohio. We're here in the middle. Ohio State owns almost 17,000 acres throughout the state in 15 plus counties, and the majority of it is at their agricultural sites. So this is a big win, to be able to use that fixed Wingtra to go out and fly all of these large sites to help not only, just having to have the imagery, but also to help the people on the ground there to see what kind of imagery we can help them out with.
And there's some really good opportunities there too for multispectral imagery to put other types of sensors and cameras on the drone and LiDAR sensors to see, how your vegetation is doing, how your crops are doing, whether it's wet or dry, elevation changes, things like that. So there's opportunities to expand and not just get imagery, but get other things as well. So we're kind of wrapping up here. So some final thoughts that we had, think liftoff to landing. Trying to be a little cheesy there, but we had to think about, and this took time for us throughout the process, but we had to think about the start of the program all the way to the end. How do we, become pilots and get the drone and fly it? And then how do we deliver whatever products we have to the end users? Build relationships. That was huge with the Wingtra. That actually started, I took the drone to a little drone demo on campus and met Chris, our partner from the engineering college. And, we started talking and we shared a lot of the same things that were going on in our projects. And, he was like, hey, I think I want to get this Wingtra. Would you guys want to partner on it? And that's been a huge relationship and a huge win for us. So look across campus. Who else is flying drones on campus? How can you partner with them to work on some stuff that can benefit both of you? Involve students. We have a bunch of GIS students that come and work for us in the summer as well as through the school year, digitizing data and making maps and stuff. So we got them out for a bunch of flights to get them some hands-on experience. They each got to fly it. They loved it. And it's good for them to experience that and see if they're interested in it in the future. Even though we're on the operations side of the house in the college, the whole mission of the college is to really help students thrive. So trying to give them opportunities in this area was great. And then be open to new opportunities. I think Aaron and I were surprised by a lot of the people that came asking for flights and projects. So, and I think it's going to continue into the future. So, be open to new things and see where you can use your drone to impact your campus.
Yeah,
Aaron, any thoughts?
It's been a lot of fun too. Like, it's really fun flying the drone. Everybody likes a drone, so everybody comes over to you and wants to know what's going on. Like, it's just a fun thing. It might be intimidating at first, but once you get going, if you have the funding, if you can get the funding for it, I highly recommend doing this. It's been a lot of fun, and it's honestly, it's easy. It's easy to do. The hard part has been trying to figure out how to display the imagery and where to do that kind of thing. But I think we're getting there in that aspect, and it's just been a lot of fun. So I highly recommend, if you guys are even considering it, to jump right in like we did, because that's basically what we did. We just jumped right in. So.
And then don't crash, right?
Right.
We have not had any incidents. So yeah, it's been safe for us. We've heard some horror stories from other people. Typically that is a smaller drone that is harder to control. So
right. Yeah, so it's been fun.
And one thing that I think we forgot to mention too was that, we talked that our drone was a commercial one, the Matrice 210, very big and powerful. Aaron and I both think that we could have purchased a smaller drone for some instances. A lot of people just want some pictures from a building, and there's some smaller DJI drones and other drones out there that can be deployed a lot easier and quicker. And in the future, I think that could be part of the equipment that we use. I think we've got a couple minutes for questions. So jump to questions. I know that there was a couple questions about regulations as well. On campus, we go through our risk office, but we don't have any flight restrictions on our campus. So we've been lucky there. There's some airports around that we have to be careful of, but so far we haven't had any issues. There was a question about the license, about your drone license and state regulations. We did not have to do anything with that. It was just getting the FAA thing.
Here's a question too about the flight restrictions for the city of Columbus and the flight pass. It's kind of interesting that question came up, because there are no restrictions from the city. It's all FAA restrictions on boundaries and things like that. But there is one. The FAA does have one over our football stadium on football game days, which is kind of interesting. And I was able to download a bunch of data from a website and map out the flights over Ohio Stadium on a football Saturday, and about an hour, because the flights we're right in the flight path of CMH, the big airport here in Columbus. They fly directly over the stadium. So it was kind of interesting to see, like 2 hours before the flight, or before game time, they all start diverting, north and south of the stadium. So it's pretty, or east and west, I should say. So it's pretty cool to see that.
Aaron, do you know if there was another cost for the site scan? We originally paid for site scan, and then when it got merged with Esri, I'm not positive.
I'm not positive either. Yeah,
we can find an answer to that and get that out to the group here. Yeah.
Let's see.
So I think, we're going to wrap it up. Matt, the illustrator, I think has been hard at work doing an illustration of this presentation. So maybe we can see what he's got for us, and we'll talk to you all later on the other platform. Thank you.
Thanks. It's been fun.
Hey, thanks everybody. Thanks, Andrew. A lot of information. I think I heard the word fun used twice, maybe. Drones. Wow, what an exciting place to go. A lot of information. It sounds like the Glueware is really taken care of, that you guys figured that out with the Esri and the site scans, getting that together. And that's the most important part, being able to make those images available to folks. And being that the barrier to entry isn't that difficult, at least technical wise, good way to go. Fixed wing craft, very, very nifty. Thanks you all. I look forward to the next event. Take care.
All right. Well, that was an amazing presentation. I appreciate both of you on presenting on that. And as a drone pilot myself, it's definitely something I'm very interested in. But I will say, I think you've jinxed yourself by saying that you've never crashed. That is just, you're cruising for a bruising at that point. But it's good to see the drone program's really taken off there, and you've really reached for the sky on that next drone. Yeah, dad jokes. I'll be here all week. I did hear the same thing about, you're volunteering to fly on some of these. You're enjoying this, I think, just as much as anything. I will say one of the things that I thought was really great, and I'm glad you guys talked about, is really seeing that ROI on some of this. One thing I hadn't even thought about was looking at the damage on your events, being able to now roll that into a budgeting for the next year, actually seeing an ROI on that, and then the $100,000 of savings, not outsourcing this. That was excellent, and that's not even documenting the returns on the actual work you've done. So great presentation, guys. I really appreciate that. That was really, really insightful. And so next we have another sponsor presentation by Hagerman. Hagerman's going to be talking about electronic document and drawing management solutions. And again, please exit and go to the agenda and find the next agenda topic, and that's how you'll move one to one. So exit this one and move to the next one. Appreciate it.